Hello, this is Danny Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide, continuing on a theme I've been following lately and which I hope others pick up on because CIG should have as wide a variety of voices on this matter. I'm going to talk more about that list that Chris Roberts and Richard Trier have said that they are working on and what will be in a 1.0 commercial release and what won't. And it's the won't part, of course, that is the controversial part, as it will engender countless tirades about things sold but not delivered. And when it happens, it is important that CIG be able to say that they listen to us, and thus important that we give them something that they can say they listen to. And I thought of to talk about the still undelivered ships, but that was too broad of a subject, so instead I'm going to talk about a specific feature that has been long promised, often delayed, and not included in Squadron 42. And that is user-facing ship modularity. There are no modular ships in Squadron 42, or if they are, such as, say, the Retaliator, we aren't going to be using any of the civilian variants. We will be using the torpedo bomber because we're in the military. So if user-facing modularity is on that 1.0 list, then it's new coding and not transferred from Squadron. And user-facing modularity has had a rough history. We've been told there is a blocker on it, say physics grids inside of physics grid. That blocker tech was then added to the game, and then only to learn that a new blocker technology has arose. Don't you just love software development? The two latest blocker techs were persistence, which we seem to be getting well nailed down, and resource network to power and service the modules, which we appear to be on the cusp of. So that means we're either going to soon see user-facing modularity finally come, or discovering what the new blocking technology is. I suspect CIG might be thinking the same thing. So I'm going to dig into the history of the promise of user-facing modularity with a goal of trying to figure out whether it should be in that feature set of 1.0 versus 1.x, and if so, which ships might actually see it on first. So to clarify some terms, first there is components and being able to swap out guns and power plants and coolers, and that's been in these ships from the start. Modules are larger than components and generally specific to a specific ship hull. And they were developer-facing modular components, which a CIG would swap out different parts of the same to make multiple models. Both of these were already well-established features already in the Aurora. User modules. User-facing modularity means being able to do that swapping out of major parts of the ship ourselves, such as being able to add the cargo box to the Aurora ES to make it an Aurora CL. It was sort of suggested that you might, but since Auroras and Mustangs are so cheap, nobody really cares about being able to do that. The next ships CIG clearly were developed facing modularity, but made no suggestion that you could turn your Cutlass Black into a Cutlass Blue. When the Avenger came out, the Stalker was described as the standard Avenger with the Stalker prisoner transport module pre-installed, and the Warlock was described as the standard Avenger with the Warlock EMP pre-installed. The use of the word pre-install implied it could also be post-installed, but that could be just marketing fluff. The actual modules were not and have never been sold separately. But curiosity was raised. Similarly, the Starfarer Gemini said that it had an optional missile pod which could be swapped out for the fuel intake unit on either Starfarer variant's nose. But again, nothing was sold. For the Caterpillar, modularity was really leaned into, with CIG discussing a whole range of different segments that it was considering creating. Vehicle bays, medical bays, etc., but nothing was sold. With the Retaliator, CIG first actually sold specific add-on modules, including cargo modules, living space modules, and a dropship module, in addition to the default torpedo bomb bays. This was the first time CIG committed enough to modularity to take money from users for specific modules. The Carrack, like the Caterpillar, had a lot of talk about future modules being added to it.
On the bottom here we have 3 modular pods that can be fitted as science stations, extra fuel tanks, potentially hold cargo, medical stations.
But no actual modules were sold.
From the ship.
Unlike the Caterpillar, the Carrack does not have functional doors on the modules, so you can't even ad hoc use them for vehicles or whatever. With the Endeavor, CIG sold specific modules for medical, science, research, and agriculture. The RSI Apollo included 2 medical bays configurable with 3 Tier 3 beds, 2 Tier 2 beds, or 1 Tier 1 bed. The modules, though, were not specifically sold. And then CIG's most recent module marketing was the Galaxy, a ship campaign so focused on modularity that if you look at the ship matrix, the focus of the ship is literally modular, the only ship to have that designation as its focus. 3 specific modules were sold for the Galaxy: cargo, medical, and refining. It was also implied that you could use the ship without any module installed, and it was stated at the last CitizenCon that the Galaxy was among the ships that could be used for base building, which I took to mean an unannounced 4th module. Now, one thing that I noticed when the Galaxy was first announced, that it was all the modules that they had sold were symmetrical, and thus the utility of the Galaxy could be improved by having separate port and starboard modules. So you could make it half a medical cargo and half refinery cargo, etc. So Star Citizen has been teasing and selling user-facing modularity for some time. But there is something else. CIG has stated that when it comes to larger ships, they are going to be focused sequentially on RSI ships in order to take advantage of that other kind of modularity, the part where they reuse content between ships. So if you look at the Venn diagram between those that have been sold modularity and RSI ships, they can overlap. You get 2 ships, the Apollo and the Galaxy. Or more accurately, you get 1.5. Because if you look at the concept drawings for the Apollo's medical module and the Galaxy's medical modules, you realize that apart from some extra space between the 2 areas, which is used for storage, the 2 actual medical areas are pretty much exactly the same. And remember, usability within the RSI style guide is exactly what they are going for. So when it gets to the actual scope of these videos, what will likely be in Star Citizen 1.0 and what will be put off for 1.x, my expectation is as follows. Unless that still unknown new blocker tech raises its ugly head for 1.0, we will get the first iterations of modularity on the Galaxy and the Apollo, but that the RSI ship team will still not be finished with that backlog. And so the modularity on all the other ships for which it has been sold, the Retaliator, Caterpillar, Carrack, and Endeavor, won't be until some future 1.x release. Is that what I would want to hear? No. If I was to relate them to how much I would be personally looking forward to user-facing modularity, it would be the Carrack and Caterpillar first, because I think it's the one that players have been most looking forward to in it. But CIG's decision to focus on RSI is a decision with both pluses and minuses. And finally, an update out on Grow the Channel ship giveaways. We continue to make progress towards awarding some lucky player the Zippy Zazzy Zaftig Zephyr, the Zeus 2 cargo, as well as towards the marvelous multi-user, multi-role mining meta, the Arasta. 1 entry per video, just be a member for automatic entry, or subscribe and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is the very first ship that CIG sold actual modules to. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Danny Raymond for Ray's Guide.